Hey, all you pugilistic bards and bardettes, welcome back to iCast Vicious Mockery.
A show about film, about television,
and about our designers working with you with all the right tools necessary to design and build your perfect boxing gym.
I don't think we have the tools to.
Yeah, we've got like the online thing on our website.
No, we don't have a website. We don't have boxing.
But the little design tool, like you click it and you put where the ring goes and you put like the little speed back, speed back.
I'm Matt.
I'm Austin.
Welcome back, everybody.
Dude, next year for April Fool's Day though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just look forward to, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
We might have a website by that.
We might. That could be...
That's more doable.
Yeah, that could be possible.
I don't know about doing like an IKEA-esque design tool on our website for an April Fool's Day prank.
IKEA-esque design tool.
Yeah, you've seen that, right? Do you know about that? They have their like kitchen designer thing where you can take their like whole cabinet system and like lay it out on your walls.
Yes, I've heard of it. I've never seen it in action, but I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you could do that.
IKEA is a cool place.
Undoubtedly.
Undoubtedly.
Having been there a few times myself, I can say that I haven't been there enough times.
Yeah. I've only been inside an IKEA once.
Really?
Yeah, just once. Yeah, it was. I wasn't buying anything.
We should just go and pick up some meatballs today. What do you think?
Just go real quick. Yeah.
Just real quick. Depends on how fast we drive.
It did. Well, that's true. I didn't have any of the food there.
Oh, so that explains it.
Right. So I don't know.
That's why you don't live there yet.
Right. That's why I haven't moved in.
I've been living in an IKEA since I ate there actually the first time.
And
was when it started.
It's really interesting how nobody ever walks into the shot when we're recording.
Yeah. That's so crazy. Like you would think with all the people coming through, maybe it's because some of the people who are shopping in IKEA will just walk over anybody and like they don't care at all.
Mm-hmm.
But I think anybody who hears like sounds coming from like the back room where you can't see, they're like, I don't know if I should walk in there right now. I think even those people, they get psyched out
when if they heard noises.
Well, people talking like confidently and like
yeah,
like a regular conversation. Because usually in IKEA it's like that. Like you're just talking very quietly to your significant other or whatever, or your friend who's there with you,
or your dog.
Yeah. Or you're yelling at your kids.
Yes, yelling.
Like it's one of those too. It's not. There's no like normal conversation.
Yeah, interesting. That's an interesting culture of IKEA. Is the hushed way that people like the reverence that people have for the IKEA.
Yeah. Or at least some people. I mean, so the one, have I been to more than one? Let's say the one that I've been to.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you'll get those people who are just crazy no matter what.
Always.
Yeah.
They're everywhere. You can't escape them.
So there are 4 IKEAs in Japan. Is that true? Or are there 4 in Tokyo? I don't remember. There are 2 in Tokyo at least that I can think of. And next time I go, I gotta find a way to get Anna to go to IKEA in Japan because I need to know. I need to know what it's like.
Isn't that that's a new thing. It's a new fad that people are designing rooms that have a fusion of that like IKEA, like Swedish architecture and Japanese.
Oh, I believe that.
Styles. Yeah. Like fused together.
All right. Anyway,
it's a new thing.
I got some homebrew.
Yeah, let's do it.
So this one's from Tuesday Night Games.
Okay.
I really hope that's what the channel's called right now, because I checked like an hour ago or something, and I don't know if I remember correctly. So anyway, this is new initiative rules, but not really new initiative rules. It's actually just the rules of the game already, but used for initiative and combat.
Okay.
All right, so here's how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of rolling for initiative and playing a figurine-based sort of, move the people kind of combat, this is more for the theater of mind.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea is you use the same system as like skill checks and things like that, right? Like you describe what you want to do. The DM describes what's going to happen. You roll the dice. There's a result. That's it.
Oh, okay.
That's what you do.
Mm-hmm. So basically, just less complicated.
Right. Well, and not only less complicated. So I think that there are some merits and drawbacks to this. I mean, obviously they're going to be both, but to me, the best thing about it is that it ties into the main system of D&D, what I'm going to call the main system of D&D, which is the describe dice result.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like that. Mm-hmm. That's the main system of the role-playing aspect of D&D. And if that's what your party is interested in, it's also the main aspect of D&D to them. Like if they don't favor the combat rules, they don't want the complexity of combat and it gets in the way for them, then that's it. It's solved. Some stuff will have to be sort of adjusted. I'm thinking things like AoE spells, things like ranges and stuff like that, where the numbers are going to be less exact because it's all up here. It's not something physically worked out. Right? It's not.
Yeah. So like things like distances maybe are relative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you'll have to kind of determine, like AoE spells are going to be weaker, I think, in a system like that, because how often are you going to have, enemies clump up together or stuff like that, within what you would call, 5 feet or things like that. I feel like it would be weaker in a system where it's more loose and up to interpretation. I don't know. You could balance for that just by making it more likely that they'll hit, or kind of fudging the range or whatever. But what are okay? I should actually describe a little bit more about how this works. Yeah. Basically, the actual order of things would start with just whoever. The way that he described it in the video, you could either just go around the table, which is what he would do. You just start with the person to your right, and then you keep going, or you start with whoever speaks first, right? Or you can like ask to go first, that sort of thing. But you just start with whoever wants to go first.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's the initiative part of
right.
it.
And as a result of that, it takes 0 time to decide initiative, because, well, actually, you know what? I think the other part of the rule was that after all the players go, all the NPCs go.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Is is it just the DM just inserts them wherever, or they go after? Okay, so they'll go after everybody else. Okay.
Mm-hmm. The only exception that he makes to that rule is if they surprise you, they go first in the whole order, and then the players go next, and then they go next, and so on.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty good. I don't know. So, well, okay. I have another thing to talk about with this in a little bit, maybe if we get to it, but we'll start with just the mechanic resonance of it. I think that's really good. I think that's excellent, and I want when I create a system in a game, I want other systems to tie into it.
Okay.
So having the initial dice roll mechanic, the D20 deciding, things, I like that this would tie into that better, because you kind of decide how you want to attack, right? Like it's not just it's not just maybe necessarily. You can add more nuance to it, I guess. You could say like, oh, they're trying to defend like this, so what do you want to do? Oh, well, in that case, I'm going to hit them with my flail, which will reach around their shield and still be able to hit them in the head. Brilliant. That's great. I love it.
Okay.
Right? That's a good use of just like that role-playing, aspect of combat. And then it works out mechanically to being, okay, they have 2 less AC because their shield's not counting this turn. I like that. I think that's pretty cool.
Okay.
I mean, you chose an inferior weapon to use, most likely, because those types of weapons do that. But you can't make that exact trade-off in normal combat unless there's a specific rule that designates that you can. I think that this kind of gives you more flexibility to decide things like that in the moment. It's a little less frictionful.
Yeah. So, but there still exists the armor class.
Yeah. Basically anything that you would want to calculate on the fly, you still want to have a stat for instead.
Okay.
To keep all those calculations, so you only have to do them once.
So like your to hit and everything like that, like that's all the same.
Yeah, I think it's the same. I mean, you can adjust it however you want, but I think that based on the description, it sounds like what he would do, and I don't know his actual first name or last name. So what Tuesday Night Games would do would be, God, I hope that's the right channel name still. Could be Tuesday Night
Frames. Tuesday night
tabletop
games.
No, Tuesday night. It could be Tuesday Night RPGs.
Could be.
I don't know. It's fine. I'm sorry. But I think the idea is that combat kind of shakes out similarly to normal. Because initiative is kind of one of the main stumbling blocks with a lot of combat. It
is clunky.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, initiative rolling is clunky. Trying to figure that out, streamlining that probably. That probably if you feel like combat has become sort of like a slog, that might be a good first step to making it feel a little bit less so. Just getting rid of initiative entirely. That being said, though, like once everybody goes in an order, I guess it doesn't really matter what order they go in still. If you just do players, then non-players back and forth like that, what order everybody goes in doesn't really matter, does it?
Not exactly. There are definitely times where there are edge cases where it will have mattered. Like you can use it to your advantage in certain small cases.
Right, like certain instances where an effect ends at the end of your next turn. You could be first, do that, and then next time be last.
Right.
And it would last longer. Yeah.
Right, yeah. But for the most part, I think having it go all the players, all the NPCs back and forth ends up being, I think it evens out. Like I don't think it's mechanically that much different.
Yeah, so if there's unless there's a surprise, in which case it would flip-flop.
Right.
Yeah. I think that going first is kind of a big advantage in 5th edition, but I don't have any facts to back that up. It's just more of a feeling. Like I've never really heard that before, per se. But I think that's kind of the purpose of initiative is
to even that out,
to break it up so that who goes first is kind of randomly determined, and there are ways to affect, there are modifiers and everything, but also the hardest part about initiative is keeping track.
Right.
So especially if there are a lot of enemies.
Yeah. And I like the idea that you can just do the enemies in whatever order you want.
Yeah.
Like when it's their turn, they just all go, and if you were like, oh shoot, I forgot to do this guy first, you could just do it now. It's fine. Not a big deal. So that's good. Okay. What about this other idea that he put forth? Mm-hmm. He calls it the hourglass method because it uses an actual hourglass. So you take the hourglass 30 seconds, and when there is a combat action, you play it exactly like normal D&D.
Okay.
Where people can just, say what they want to do, and they do it. And you do the dice stuff and all that. But you have 30 seconds to decide an action. Multiple people can take action at once, right? But like, flip the hourglass. That's how long you have. At the end of that, we do it. The enemies decide at the same time what they want to try to do. And so, you could kind of play your attacks off of each other, meaning the enemies and the characters, like you could both go for an attack on each other at the same time, essentially. Now that adds up to doing some weird stuff as far as timing goes. Changes reactions big time. But it almost turns reactions into like, I was going to do this, but now my quick thinking, like as I was about to attack, my quick thinking has made me come up with a better move, better strategy. So it almost gives them more of like a Battlefield Genius flavor, which is, the classes that use reactions heavily kind of have that. Like that's kind of their deal.
Right.
I don't know. What do you think about that?
I think I don't quite understand what you mean. Mm-hmm. So you have an hourglass, 30 seconds.
Mm-hmm. During that time, each person decides what their character will do. If they don't make a decision, then their character just kind of doesn't do anything this round.
Do so they have to declare it? Like declare what they're, and then when do the rolls happen?
See, I don't know how this looks played out.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
The way I would imagine it is you'd kind of like do a Jeopardy buzzer kind of deal. Like you'd hit the table when you have an idea. And then at the end of the 30 seconds, just each person says what their thing is. As you'd probably go around the table. And if you didn't come up with something in the 30 seconds, then they just skip you. I mean, you could just put your hand in anyway. And then
just...
Exactly. So I don't know exactly how it would work. But I like the idea of a system where, where I guess it works the same way as the role playing during combat, where it's just what you come up with. It's not about like, I guess most of the role playing is just using these set, or it's not using these set techniques and stuff, which is what combat all is. So this is like a more loose and fast way of playing it.
Yeah, loose and fast. On one hand, yeah, I could see, well, but I don't understand. I guess I don't understand too what you mean when you say like it makes you think like, oh, I was going to do this, but maybe now I'll do that. Is that just like once the 30 seconds is up, you can still change your mind until... No, I
mean like at that point you have chosen your action, but they might have also chosen to attack you at the same time. Okay. And so now you can use a reaction, like a trap card.
Oh, okay. Okay, I see.
So I think that's cool for that kind of stuff.
I see what you mean. Like that's when you would be able to use reactions, but I also see like otherwise you wouldn't be able to. Mm-hmm. And that would also make it tough because there are a lot of like with 5th edition, especially if you had a character that had a lot of reactionary things, like thinking just well, counterspell is not a good example, but something that would, again, there are certain reactions that the effects last until the end of your next turn.
Mm-hmm.
And this would make that tough just because, again, the end of your next turn might, like, you don't know what that means is kind of relative in a situation where everybody's kind of deciding all at the same time what to do.
Yeah.
And in that case, kind of similar to playing it where, there's no initiative and people just decide to go whenever.
Mm-hmm.
It's similar to that in that by the time it comes back to that player's turn, heck, they could have like just been the one that said something a second ago. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
Like each round. But I don't know. I think that you would have to be playing a very specific set of characters, like a very specific party for something like that to be most effective. I think it could work with most of them, but I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know every subclass by heart or anything like that. But I just have a feeling like, especially since some are more complicated than others.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you had a subclass that had a lot of intricate, complicated things, 30 seconds to decide like what to do might not even be possible in some cases.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, in that case, the solution is either play a simpler thing or the other option that he gave was ask the table for help. Right. Like, at that point you say, hey, because the example he gave was like, maybe your character is really fast thinking on their feet. And they're really clever and they're really good at fighting and whatever. But you, under the pressure of the timer or under, any sort of pressure during combat, you do not think clearly. You freeze up, right? At that point, what he suggested to do is you ask the table like, hey, I think that my character would do something really cool here. Could I have a few ideas? Right? Like I think that makes sense to do. And I don't think that anyone is actually limited in what they can eventually come up with their character, you'll get better at playing characters who are quick-witted and cunning and all that sort of stuff as you play more characters and as you try to take full advantage of their features and abilities. So you kind of get used to it and you'll figure out that stuff because the game is it is limited in a lot of ways, and so you'll eventually get the rule set down, be able to take advantage of all sorts of things like that. And at first, you just let everyone know, like, hey, I don't think as fast as my character does. We all recognize that, right? And then say, what do you think, are some cool ideas for what my character could do? They probably are jealous that you get to play a sorcerer and they don't.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And they'll have some really good ideas because it's clear that you are inept at playing a sorcerer. No, that was actually a dig at people. That's not cool.
Yeah, you want to make a dig at sorcerers.
I want to make a dig at sorcerers.
Not at people.
Yeah, not at people.
You can also make a dig at people who play sorcerer. If
you play a sorcerer and you're worried that I think that you're inept at it, number one, A, who cares what I think? Number two, B, I don't think that about you. Okay, let's move on from that.
I'm curious about 1B and 2A. But
I don't think we're ready for that kind of matrix math on the show here.
Okay,
unless, is it actually a math podcast now?
Oh, no. God.
Did we do it?
Not from my end.
Oh, okay.
I was just thinking about all the math that I used to know and could do when I was like in high school. And then I'm like, man, if somebody showed me that problem now, I wouldn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
Not anymore. just because I haven't done it since then.
I can still,
I might be able to get back to it, but
if I have Wolfram Alpha available,
well,
I can still do up to like differential equations type stuff.
yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking of.
I don't
differential equations.
remember vector calculus very well.
I never learned vector calculus.
So yeah, that's what I learned, or that's what I've lost, and I've also lost a lot of matrix math, linear algebra.
I got the very basics of matrices. I don't think that we didn't really do anything with them.
Mm-hmm. I guess I can't say I've lost it, but because actually I don't know. Maybe not everybody knows this, but forgetting doesn't work exactly how. Like the thing isn't gone from your head. Obviously, it doesn't go somewhere. It's actually just that the pathway to it becomes
harder to navigate.
Yeah,
sort of.
Yeah. It works exactly like an actual footpath through like the woods, where if you stop using it, it becomes overgrown again. Little plants start springing up, and eventually it just
disappears under the brush.
Yeah,
sort of.
But if you if you started walking through it, it would again be a footpath. The real the real issue, I guess, the reason that people think that they've forgotten stuff and can't get to it is that it just seems that way, because you think, how could I possibly do this thing I don't know how to do anymore? But you technically can a little bit. And if you saw the right prompts along the way, you'd be like, wait, I know how to do that.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Sort of, yeah.
Eventually. You'd still suck at it. No offense. Not you specific, but you general.
Well, me specific as well, but
yeah. Yeah, also you specific.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you are actually bad at that thing that you think you forgot how to do. You just you didn't forget, you're just bad at it now.
You're just bad at it now.
Yeah. It just takes you way too long to remember how to do it, to the point where it might not be feasible for you to like physically put in the effort and time to do that.
Yep. Well, that's how it really is.
Yeah.
You just don't want to spend that time to remember how to do it.
Like, so I've done some drawing, and I'm very bad at it. I'm awful at drawing.
Sure.
I have made a drawing that is recognizable as a human, like a photorealistic image of a human, like an actual person. Granted, I picked an easy one because they were drinking tea and they had one eye closed, so nice.
Nailed it.
But you can, if you saw it, you would actually recognize, if you had already seen that picture of that person, you'd be like, oh, I know, I've seen this picture of this person. The thing about it is not that I can't do that physically. It's totally possible for any person to do that, to make a drawing like I did that's of a high quality. It's not that good. I don't want to sound like I'm like I there are parts that are pretty bad, but there are parts that look right. But like a printer can do that if you give it the right instructions, and a person can do that if you give them enough time. And like I was using pencil, I can erase my mistakes and I can retry it, and eventually I can do that. It just took me 5 times as long as it took my classmates, in like a very literal sense. It took me like 5 times as long, and I got about the same quality of drawing as a lot of them in that time. So does that mean that I guess that's technically what it means when you say that you're good or bad at drawing. It's not that you can or can't do it.
It's the amount of time it takes.
The amount of time it takes. Yeah.
And but the quality is the thing that remains the same. That's kind of like, who was it? I don't remember which artist it was, but there's a story, again, may or may not even be true, but someone was walking through a park and they saw some famous artist. I don't remember who it was now. sitting on a park bench, and they said, "Oh wow, could you do me a drawing? Like, could you draw on this napkin for me?" So like, whoosh, took like 30 seconds, boom, drew something. It was really good, and he said, "That'll be $10,000, please." And they were like, "What? Why would I give you $10,000 for something that you just did in 30 seconds?" And he was like, he said something to the effect of, "Well, it took me 25 years to be able to do this in 30 seconds. So that's why."
Right. Yeah.
And so, I mean, whatever you want to say about the value of
there's also, I guess, something to be said about like the actual skill cap. Like there is, for instance, if you watch the documentary Jiro Dreams of Sushi, you can tell that he can taste things that other people can't. Right? Like he sees a difference where other people don't. So in that case, like, not only does he slice everything perfectly, not only does he prepare the rice exactly right, and all that kind of stuff, and he can physically do that at a fast enough pace that he can do it every single day. Well, I don't know if he still does every day anymore, because he's got to be like 92. But even though he can do that at a certain pace, other people can technically probably make, if they can make sushi with the same physical like skill in the same amount of time, I guess there is probably a chance that they can't taste differences that he can. So even if their body can perform the same exact tasks as him, their sensory ability might not allow them to make the adjustments that he does.
Right. Yeah, that's
so.
Yes.
There is also that. Like, but I guess that comes down to like, can you draw? Because like, if you don't have hands, I mean, you can still draw. I guess you can hold a pencil in your mouth. Okay, let's say you don't have hands or a mouth. Well, I guess you have feet. Feet are easier actually than a mouth, probably.
Probably. No hands, no feet, no mouth.
I did see this one graphic designer once who worked using her chin and nose primarily, because she got like really bad repetitive stress injuries in both hands from like graphic design, and so she had to switch to using like her face on a trackpad, and like still high quality. Anyway, that's a tangent.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I wonder how that happened.
Yeah. I wish I remembered who it was. I would link to it in the show notes, but I have no clue.
Yeah, I wish I could remember who that artist was. And again, that's just kind of like a story. It's not, it's potentially not true, but
yeah, but
it gets the point across, I guess.
Right. Right now, we're recording this during the GMTK Game Jam. In fact, it'll be over in like, I don't know, like 40 minutes.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Better submit your game now.
Yeah.
I can technically program a game, make art for it, make music for it, all that kind of stuff. Could I do that in 48 hours? No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
No. So yeah, I guess that goes back to the same thing. Like, do I have the ability to make all the stuff of a certain quality that appeals to me? Yes. Can I do that in a reasonable amount of time? Well, 48 hours might not be reasonable, but
yeah, it depends on your definition of reasonable, but sure.
But no, the answer is no. I can't do that in a reasonable amount of time right now. With enough practice, I probably could, but right now,
yeah. No. and for you, that might actually be seem attainable, but for me, who has no experience with any of those things, that sounds like, yeah, if the time limit wasn't there, could I do that? Sure. That would take me a long time.
Yeah. And that's how people become critics instead of Game developers and stuff.
That's what I should do. I should just be a critic.
Yeah. I think that is the case because to some extent there is, it's frustrating when I can't make something that's as good as I want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I am playing the guitar and because I'm used to some extremely fast guitar players as being my like baseline for what I listen to. Mm-hmm. So when I play something and it's not like I can't do that complicated stuff, but my brain is telling me that's what should be in the song.
Mm-hmm.
That's frustrating. And I don't know how much, like, I don't know if it's even reasonable for me to expect that in my lifetime, I can actually do that stuff. And at some point it won't be. And at that point, I should become a critic. Like, I think that's what happens.
What about right now?
Right now,
maybe it's not reasonable now. You don't know.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know
because
I might have hit that point of no return.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you should be a critic now.
Yeah. And there are so many things that I want to do that I know I've hit that point on at least some of them, but I can't tell yet for sure.
You feel it deep down,
right?
But you don't have tangible evidence.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Because I'm certain that there are things that would take you 40 years to get as good as I feel like I would want to be at them if you started when you were 7. And now I'm almost 30. And I think at that point, something that takes you 40 years to learn when you're that young probably takes more like 60 years or 70.
Right.
And that's I'll be dead.
That's the age cap right now. Yeah. For our generation, it probably still will be.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, who knows? Mm-hmm. Like we could living in your mid hundreds might be normal by then, but yeah. I mean, who knows? Because
we don't know the quality of life at that point or anything like that.
Exactly.
It's all uncertain. But if I had to guess, I would say probably I'll live to be, if I'm lucky, I'll live to be 80, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the life expectancy in the U.S. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Men usually die younger than women. So, yeah. 80 is actually, I think, older than the average life expectancy in the U.S.
A lot of my family members live to around that age. I am pretty big though, as a human. I'm a large human, so my life expectancy is lower. So, 80 is like if I'm pretty lucky.
Hey, do you want to hear some homebrew?
Yeah.
Let's see. I've got Throbbing Freedom.
No, that's a pretty good name right there.
That also happens to be the name of this user too, but this is Restrained Magic.
Okay.
So this is a concept where if you don't want to kill somebody with your magic spells.
Oh, okay.
So I think this is a feat, I believe. Mm-hmm. So what this allows you to do is it increases your intelligence, wisdom, or charisma by 1. And then when you cast a spell, you can state that the spell is non-lethal, and it will render the target unconscious instead of killing them if it reduces them to 0 hit points. In addition, if your spell would hit a friendly target, they have advantage on the saving throw, and only suffer half damage.
Wow. Okay.
Which actually is kind of a confusing.
Do they have advantage? So they have advantage. So if they succeed, they get quarter damage.
I'm not sure.
That's what I'm assuming.
Yeah, that's kind of the implication, I think. Mm-hmm. They have advantage, even if they still fail. It's still half damage.
Yeah.
But if they succeed,
maybe you could say in that rule that it's treated as though they resist it.
Yeah, as though they have resistance.
Then they also have advantage.
Yes, they have advantage and resistance to the damage. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But no, I think that's really good. It's kind of like what's that spell shaping thing? that sorcerers do.
Yeah, the meta magic stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But,
It's like a meta magic thing.
This obviously has no cost associated with it, but it also has less effect. And it's more available, so that's pretty cool too. I like the role-playing aspect of it, right? Like, I like the idea that you don't kill people with magic on purpose. Like, that's what you know, it's one of the things that about your character. Because then you're basically just Batman, but magic instead of money.
Right. You leave people terribly crippled instead of killing them.
Right.
Yeah.
So that they can seek revenge against you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I guess I see why so many murder hobos do the murder thing.
Yeah.
Because like a regular hobo is just not equipped to deal with supervillains.
Well,
that's what I'd have to guess.
That's true. They are not equipped to deal with super. They just don't have the resources.
Yeah. That's why the murder part is so important. Listen, all you hobos out there, if you so identify, little tip for you here. Murder is actually pretty essential for you. You're gonna want to probably look into that. Check about the legality of it, of course. You know, see if it's legal in your precinct or state or area or whatever. However it's divided up where you are.
Yeah, your territory.
Yeah, but if it's legal, then I guess you might want to see.
Because if you kill them,
they won't be a supervillain.
They can't get revenge on you.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas if you just beat them up, they will get revenge on you.
Or will at least attempt.
Once they have magical powers or whatever.
Or,
yeah.
Talk to God or whatever.
Yeah, once they talk to exactly.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Once they talk to a god. It could be your god, can be their god, whoever's. If it's your god, you're probably in trouble.
That's like them putting in a complaint to HR.
Yeah. It's like a mortal complaint to HR. Like, hey, this dude like seriously screwed me up. Okay, we'll take him out.
Yeah, well, we got it.
He's going down.
It's like
I was gonna say, what was the homebrew again? I got it. But
yeah.
Yeah, I do. So what do you think about a party where it's all murder hobos and like one dude who's like, I don't kill?
Just one guy.
Yeah.
Well, how does he feel about everybody else killing?
That's the thing, isn't it?
Like, does he not care? He's like, oh, they can kill.
What would you do?
But I don't.
Yeah. What would your character be like? As long as my hands aren't dirty, we're good. If I look the other way, it's all. Or would they? You know, like how would you play that?
It depends on what their like moral stance is on it. Like, yeah, maybe why is it that they're not killing? Is it that they don't want to kill, or is it just that do they think killing is wrong for one reason or another? Why doesn't Batman kill?
Do they like making supervillains?
Oh, they like making supervillains.
They don't kill on purpose just so they can make supervillains. What about that?
What about that?
That? Like, what if that's what Batman does? Because who's going to fire him if if the Joker's running around, Penguin's running around, some other Batman villains running around, whatever?
It was an inside job. He was doing it himself.
Mm-hmm.
He was creating the villains so that they would need him.
Yep.
Oh, man.
And then in the Dark Knight movies, when he's like, all right, you guys got your supervillains. I'm going to leave now.
And then they were like, crap, where's Batman? These supervillains are messing everything up. And then he waited just long enough to be like, I'm back.
Right.
You guys need me. I'll take care of these supervillains.
Wait, I am a little confused because all right, so in the Dark Knight movies, the first one I've never seen.
The Batman Begins?
Yeah.
Okay.
Never seen it, but it's not important to the rest of them, except that it's just part of the same thing.
It's just the origin story.
Yeah, the second one,
Mm-hmm.
he's like, you don't need Batman anymore. I'm out of here. Catch you on the flip side. Like Batman says.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, flip-flop.
Why
yeah.
does he come back in the third one, though?
Well, originally, it's interesting that you asked that because I did look into that a little bit. Recently, actually. The original plan for the third movie was going to heavily focus on like resolving Joker, but Heath Ledger died.
Oh.
So the third Dark Knight Rises was like a thrown together last minute, like
they were like, we already have all this stuff.
Yeah.
Like we've got set designers, we've got all these people, they're hired, their contract is set for this time, which that's how it works with that. If you know, like the contracts are on set dates in that industry. So you can't just be like, we're not going to pay you.
Right. Yeah.
So to recover some of the money, at least, they have to make a crappy movie. And they have to do it by deadline.
And I don't think that The Dark Knight Rises was crappy. But
it's not what they wanted, I guess. Is what it sounds like.
Right. And it wasn't, I don't think it was great either.
No.
The Dark Knight is the best of the three by far, by a landslide. Like, yeah. In fact, I might say that The Dark Knight is still, in my opinion, the best superhero movie to date. Still. I think
What about the Hulk, though?
The Incredible Hulk?
Yeah.
Well, it's close, but...
I'm trying to think of...
Avengers Endgame.
So I haven't seen any of the old Superman movies. Those could be better.
Pretty good. Well, they were good, but they were limited by the technology of their time.
Mm-hmm.
I think that modern special effects, I don't know, there's sort of like a trade-off to it. In some ways, 2008's Iron Man suit and like effects looked more real than like Thor: Love and Thunder that just came out. Like, I'm not going to say anything about what happens plot-wise in that movie. So no spoilers or anything. I was disappointed with it kind of in general, but a lot of it had to do with the effects. They went too big, and some of the effects, especially right at the beginning, like the very beginning, there's like an action sequence where Thor does a bunch of action stuff. And it looks really bad.
From what I saw in the trailer,
yeah,
something about the CGI, like action, like the fighting, looks too floaty, and light. Like there's no force behind it.
Yes, that's what it was. Okay, so you noticed it too.
Yeah, like in the trailer even.
Yeah, so there are moments where like he flies up in the air, does a bunch of stuff, and he like lands on the ground, and he like super fast, like slams on the ground. But there's nothing. Like
so one thing I noticed was, I don't know if it was in that or if it was in some other Marvel thing actually right now, but I saw a shot where someone lands on the ground and it breaks the ground and flips up some of it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't right. And so what happened is they hit the ground, they were standing up straight, and then the rest of the ground went like that. Like it flipped up after their action was complete. Oh. And it wasn't like part of them pushing their legs down into the ground or anything. So it looks like they just came to a perfect stop and then the ground decided to break after. And it's like instant. It's like one frame too late or something.
Yeah.
It's not a huge thing. But like, I saw it and I was like, that looked weird. And I think that there's like, no matter how hard they try right now, there's still things that physically, like physics wise, I think they're trying to work out some stuff about how superheroes work.
I think the biggest reason it was so extra noticeable in Thor because it seemed like they didn't even try to make those impacts look like anything. Like they did the speed and they did the sound, but like when he lands, the ground doesn't move. It just stays exactly static as it is.
Does the camera shake?
No.
Because I feel like that's one of the things that would, really add to it. And I don't see a lot of that.
No, there was no camera shake. There's nothing like that. It's really kind of, it's almost jarring because of how, it's like, there's a dissonance to it where like what you're seeing and hearing is different. Like there's the cause and effect doesn't match up. Right. I guess is what it is.
What I think they're going to need, what I think they're going to find that they need to do is they're going to need to use actual animation principles with like squash and stretch and stuff like that. I think right now they have 3D models that are super detailed and realistic. I'm not entirely sure, but I think that they are. You never see them. They're always blurry. Right. But, so this 3D model hits the ground and doesn't like warp at all. Which I guess would look more realistic, but it's almost like at that level of physical impact or things like that, we expect it to be more spectacular maybe. I mean, maybe what actually happens when somebody who I think they said that Thor weighs like 500 pounds or something because he's like made of something heavier.
That makes sense.
So I think somebody who's 500 pounds, if he hits the ground at 1,200 miles an hour, it might not actually do anything all that spectacular, or it might. I don't really know.
Who knows?
I would imagine. Let's see. What if I had to guess?
What if you had to guess?
That would be like a really big mortar hitting the ground. That'd be like a crazy mortar. So it wouldn't be like an explosion or anything, but there would be a lot of dust kicked up. There'd be some. They'd basically get all the way into the ground.
Right. And I think it's okay that if it doesn't, it doesn't have to do exactly what it physically would do.
Yeah. Well, so what I think we would want to see actually is that they have to absorb that impact. Right now, I feel like a lot of the time they just land standing straight up.
That's what it is too. That's part of it too, is that he lands and his knees don't bend or anything like that. Yeah, it looks real weird. It looks really weird, like really unnatural.
Yeah.
And it's mostly right at the beginning. It got better as the movie went on. The action sequences later are better. Then again, there isn't really much interacting with the environment after that anyway. Most of the things that are affected are all CGI after that anyway.
Right, yeah.
It's just big CGI stuff. Hey, I didn't even really make this connection, but Christian Bale plays the bad guy in Thor: Love and Thunder, and I think he does a great job as far as his acting goes. And I feel like the villain wasn't very strong because they didn't have enough time to set him up. And I think that it fell really flat, which was really disappointing because Christian Bale did a really good job. It was one of those things where I was like, man, that actor's really good. I wish that the script had done that character
more with them.
That character better. But it was already a 2-hour movie. Like, you don't really want to do much longer than that for your average movie. So I don't know. I'm not really a film critic, even though it sounds like I am right now. but I just overall thought it was a fun movie, but it didn't have that secondary thing that Marvel movies have had in the past where they also felt really satisfying.
Yeah.
Like something in them happens that feels like it was the right thing to do.
Right.
Something felt really wrong about it. I don't know. But I did like it. I liked it.
Yeah, I can
had
agree.
fun. I had fun with it.
I didn't watch it, but
Yeah,
I'll say
I
that
liked
the
it.
trailer. I liked the trailer a little bit, not a lot, but it was also a trailer.
I do think that Taika Waititi, it was the director
Mhm.
for Love and Thunder, and then he did Ragnarok as well. And I think Ragnarok really worked a lot better under his direction, just based on what was happening in the
Mhm.
grand scheme of the cinematic universe, like where Thor was, what was going on in his life, like what was happening. I think that was
It was really well set up for a comedy,
yeah, exactly.
right? Like he was kind of off of his game a little bit,
Right.
right?
And this movie is supposed to is very different in terms of where Thor is at.
Mhm.
And I think that Taika Waititi's jokes were really good, really funny, but it felt like there were three things going on with the movie, and one of them needed to go for it to actually be able to flesh out the other two.
Mhm.
Because there was the thing about the bad guy, there was a romance involved, and then there was the jokes, which I think is a whole entire thing on its own, with Taika Waititi.
Mhm.
And one of those things I think would have been better off left out.
And if you're going to a Thor movie, you're expecting the jokes,
Right.
and you're expecting the romance. So
I maybe you're joking, but I agree. I think
that's a big part of Thor.
Yeah, I think that the thing that should have gone was the bad guy. I think there
Yeah.
shouldn't have been a villain in this one. Like literally, I think it would have been better, because there was too much conflict. That's what it was. There was too much conflict,
Mm.
and I think
I if I had to guess,
mhm,
I would have to guess that Taika Waititi would love to do a superhero movie with no villain.
right.
I feel like that would be the kind of thing where he'd be like, no, that's not. Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can do that. Yeah, because I just think that because then they could have saved Christian Bale and his performance for a film that like could flesh out the antagonist more, and then it would mean a lot more.
Right.
And it would be more impactful, that part of it, because the romance conflict and the bad guy conflict weren't related at all. So they were kind of at odds with each other throughout the entire film.
So it actually should have been a rom-com.
It really should have.
It really should have been a rom-com.
It should have just been a rom-com. Yeah.
So there can be a villain in that, right? Like,
yeah.
I'm trying to think of a rom-com that I've seen where there's a villain in it. I mean, there can be like an overarching, but like just don't flesh it out at all. Don't even try. You know, like don't make it a thing. Like in Step Brothers.
Right.
There's whatever conflict is in the movie. I don't know what it was, but they had to save the day by coming together.
Right.
And that would have been enough, I think, maybe for Love and Thunder.
Yeah.
You know, like the bad guy is whatever, and it's going to take Natalie Portman and Chris Hemsworth
right
to beat them. It doesn't matter.
They did in the middle of the movie introduce a third smaller conflict. That's where it really started to lose me. Was they were like, oh, we have to go do this, and then there was an obstacle there.
Mm-hmm.
So and I don't know. It was just too much. It was too much. I
think at some point it should devolve into a montage of like just beating a bunch of bad guys. I feel like that's what that movie could have done. I haven't seen it, by the way.
Right.
In case you guys were not sure.
But yet everything you're saying is completely tracks with what I think the movie could have been.
Yeah, while things are on the good side with the romance, before the whatever falling out has to happen near the end,
mm-hmm.
there's a planet hopping, justice serving montage where they're just beating up a bunch of bad guys and having a great time. But the actual conflict that's being set up is like something that has to do with the clashing of their personalities or their situation or whatever.
Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna do next time I make this movie.
Yeah, by the way, special guest Taika Waititi here.
Right.
It's Austin's.
Yeah, he and
name.
I don't know if you've noticed, but you've probably never seen us in the same room together.
That's true. I've never seen them in the same room, so
wonder if there's a reason for that. Thor 5?
Thor
Maybe
5.
You'll find out.
Yeah, I'm just about to say that. Thor 5. I mean,
is there going to be a Thor 5? I'm not clear on that. Is this the end? Was that one the last Thor?
Should I say? I don't know. The movie's still pretty new, for the audience sake.
Yeah, you'd have to go back and remember what they said before it because I don't know. They did mention before this one whether it would be the last one, I believe, but I don't remember what they said.
Oh, did they really?
I think so.
Okay. Skip 30 seconds ahead if you don't want to know. Thor will return.
Oh, okay.
Is what they said.
Wait, which one do they mean though?
Exactly. Unclear. But yeah. So yeah, Thor's not done. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
So the idea that Thor is so in love with himself that the person that he loves also becomes Thor. That's hilarious.
That's kind of what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of how it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it happens.
I like that a lot. That's super funny to me.
Well, a lot of it hinges on, you'll have to remember from the very first Thor movie, what Odin says to Mjolnir, like right toward the beginning. Do you remember what he says?
No, that was a long time ago.
Whoever shall wield this hammer, should he be worthy. Oh, well,
yeah, because Thor is a type. Yeah, that whole deal. We got that. Yeah, we got that on lock.
Will be granted the power of Thor, or will have the power of Thor, something like that. Anyway, well, that's really important because we saw that happen with Captain America when he picked up the hammer.
He also got the lightning. And the jumpy fly.
Right.
But apparently some of that is Thor's physical body because Captain America was still not as strong as Thor.
Oh, well, yes. Yes. I think when it says the power of Thor, I think it means the lightning stuff.
Yeah.
But that's also just the power of Thor too. So even when Thor doesn't have Mjolnir, he could still do that because that is also just his power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, wait, that's even weirder because where did he get it from? Does he not get the power from the hammer?
No, that's what Ragnarok was all about.
Right, but then why does he have the hammer?
Well, it's just his weapon.
But he gets the power from the hammer in the first one.
He does, yeah, because he doesn't know.
So the actual thing is what was going on in the first Thor movie was that he was grounded from his powers.
Yes,
that's a pun. But he was grounded from his powers. And so to get them back, he had to get them from the hammer.
Correct.
That's what actually happened.
Yes.
Okay.
And he couldn't get them from the hammer until he was worthy.
Right. So they got like pulled into it. But not exactly.
Yeah.
But basically they were just locked behind the hammer. But they're actually innate to him.
I hate those paywalls.
Yeah.
Man.
Dude, when did Marvel become pay to win?
Pay to win. When Disney Plus started.
Dude, kinda?
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, because you have to pay extra for the Marvel movies when they first come out, right? Isn't that a thing? Or is that just the other Disney movies? You have to pay like $30 to stream them when they're in theaters?
They did that at first. I don't think they're doing that anymore.
I think they're just doing theatrical releases again.
They are, but they're bringing it onto Disney Plus, I think, before it's even out of the theater now.
That's what I mean. Yeah,
okay.
but you would be able to pay $30 to watch Raya
And
and the Last Dragon.
Well, not anymore. Now it's just on there, I think.
Now it might just be on there, or you might still have to pay $30.
I don't know.
Dude, microtransactions? Movies have microtransactions now? Hey, I pay, I play, man. Give me the ending I want.